one has questions on it?
Come on, Sharice, Phyllis, I know you have a question.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is there a possible way to somehow put a moratorium on development for neighborhoods in our county until the mess of getting the final top coat of roads in communities are? I know Commissioner Greene knows my never-ending story, and our neighborhood is approaching 10 years of being complete with no top coat. I know there are other neighborhoods in the county that are the same way. That, as far as I know, is the county's responsibility. The developer puts down whatever that part of the road is. But it seems to me that maybe permits shouldn't be issued, or they should be more expensive, or something else, so that we can get the final top coat, because the county's going to spend a lot of money in my neighborhood, because the roads are once again eroding away, and it's again going to be dangerous for people who have very large holes and stuff, simply because they need the top coat, and you probably should.
Would you like to go first? One thing that we did adopt was the unified code, development code for our county, as far as the restrictions or the application of building, developing the roads, putting in the infrastructure, necessary infrastructure for all of these subdivisions. They're a little more stringent than what they used to be. We're making sure that the taxpayers are not being burdened with the aftermath we're referring to. We've had, since I've been in office in 2009, January 2009, we probably had 3 or 4 subdivisions where the developer went out of business. And we've actually had to go after the bond in order to go in and repair the roads and do those things. We wanted to end that. So that's why we came up with that Unified Development Code, which was actually reviewed. We had public hearings on it. It went to the Planning and Zoning Commission, reviewed by them to ensure that we are protecting the property owners. We want to make sure that you guys are protected, and that's what we did.
Good answer, Peter. Now, one thing we experienced the last 10 years is a lot of people went out of business with the recession. It wasn't typically a bad problem prior to it, but we do have to keep bonds, such as Keith was saying, that keeps everything good, and then the ordinance that they adopted should protect everything.
Next question.
Which thing I like? You say that?
I would know what either of you, plan to do to try to keep the county budget down, keep costs down, take some of the burden, tax burden off the taxpayer. What do you plan on doing to reduce taxes, keep costs down to the taxpayer? Also, do you have any plans that could help take some of the burden off of older people who frankly didn't meet a lot? And I turned 69, so I've got a little bit of a cut on my taxes. But if I essentially be able to do 75, but that time I would have lost my house if anybody cares. So that's 2 separate questions. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I would actually, of course, that's probably a tax question. I throw Jamie under the bus. Just kidding. I would like to see the rate or the age limit drop for school tax leads. I think Houston County is the oldest. I think Dade County is the latest. When people turn to 75, I think it's pretty much a surety they're going to have kids in school. I don't think they'll have to pay for it. I'd like to see that drop back to 65, maybe even 70. And that's something I would like to see happen. As far as just watching our tax dollars, I think we just need to be a little more frugal with our spending. I think we run into a lot of, in our budgets, and I won't need any fingers, but we do a lot of reallocation. We'll put in for, like, we want to need 10 cars, we want $100,000, but then we get a grant for $70,000, so instead of putting that $70,000 back in the till, we spend it on something else without any accountability. And I think we need to be accountable for every dollar that is given to us. as elected officials, we work for the people of this county. Every penny that goes through should be accounted by to the penny. I know that sounds redundant, but they shouldn't be reallocation, they should be accountability. And I think we need more accountability in every department that we have, including the
Now, getting to, let me answer. Okay, so, yes, I agree. We should reduce the school board tax. I've requested this to our representatives. We require all of us to go to our representatives and ask for that reduction for the exemption. I've already asked for it. I need your help. If we go from 75 to 72. Now, that's a possibility as far as how we can incrementally change, that age bracket so we understand what what the impact would be from the budget standpoint. Now, keep this in mind, Catoosa County is the 16th lowest in millage rate, county millage rate. We have about 15% of the county revenue that comes in, or the property tax value, or property taxes that come into Catoosa County. 85% of that goes to our school board. I want you all to understand that. We operate on a very small, pretty tight budget. Now, when it comes to spending, our spending, I believe, is very transparent. Everything that we vote on and spend is right there in the county meeting room. Our SPLOST dollars are accounted for and voted by everyone in this room. If you vote, ever voted for SPLOST, even if you didn't, the voters out there elected for us to have SPLOST, which goes towards our capital improvement projects. If we did not have capital improvement projects, or that's SPLOST, we would see our roads deteriorate. We would see other things. We do not have any empty buildings. All of the buildings that we have are being housed. We would like to see additional firefighters and coverage in certain areas. However, the budget constraints and operational constraints do not allow for that. SPLOST does not pay for operational expenses. SPLOST pays for capital improvement projects, roads, bridges, stormwater. I believe we've done a very good job from a fiscally conservative group. We have 5 board members that are very good. So thank you.
Yeah, it's your turn.
I wasn't going to attack y'all.
That is a lie. We were waiting on you to come out.
That's okay. He brought up a good subject. He says the county has talked to the state reps about that. Why didn't y'all talk to them about getting the state on the referendum to expand the payment on that tax? How we pay our taxes, Keith, because you have to get the representatives, have to get it on a referendum so we can vote on it. And we're willing to get you up a petition if that would help you, either one of you, whoever's in office, get that changed, because it really needs to, that payment thing really needs to be changed.
And I agree. It's 75 is pretty unrealistic in my opinion for people to have to pay property taxes. 75, get it down to the county level, at least for now, to 72. And then we can also look at how we can implement a reduction to where it's more manageable for the elderly. I see that a lot. I've had a lot of calls about it, and I've talked to people about it. So, yes, I would like to see that changed.
Was that your question, or was your
Yeah,
buy-in?
y'all just need to talk to the representatives, get it on the representatives, get on the representatives.
Yes, I'm the one that brought it up, so sure. I think it needs to be done. I mean, I think my mother's 8 years old and that qualifies because there's a garage apartment in the backyard that she'll never rent. So I think there's a lot of things that need to be done, safe, they're okay with mine.
And then they just think we understand the corner should sign that. Yeah, we can understand that.
It came to my attention that we might be playing a little bit of inside baseball. Neither of these gentlemen introduced themselves and gave their opening statements. So for everybody who doesn't know who these gentlemen are, I'm going to, let's see, G comes before H, right? Okay,
Yes.
So we're going to go with Keith Greene. He's going to do his opening introduction, and then we're going to go to Stephen Henry. He'll introduce himself.
I'm Keith Greene. I've had the honor and privilege to serve as your county chairman for the past 7 years. we've had some very difficult times in the past 7 years. We've seen a recession, we've seen a tornado, and we've seen some very, difficult times. So we're working on those, and we've done, I think, during the recession, we managed it very well. When it comes to the tornado, we recovered very quickly, and we were actually able to self-fund that recovery effort. We did not have to get any loans. We actually, I believe, did a very great job, and we were able to get 100% reimbursement from using our accounting methods, using our CFO, managing the whole county when it comes to the cleanup effort. Our guys did a phenomenal job. So we were able to maximize for FEMA and GEMA the return on those funds.
I'm Stephen Henry, I'm Safety Knowledge, Chairman of the Board of Commissioners. I was raised in this county, been here all my life, 44 years. I own a business, run a business in this county, and we made it through the recession as well. I'm a home builder, which I know that's probably a dirty word to some of you, but all of you live in one. Made it through the recession, we had a small business, and we did make it through, so I think that's a good example that we've got resilience, and that we're going to do what it takes to buckle down and make things last. The tornado, I give Keith a lot of credit for them making it through, but we also had a lot of good Christian people that come in and clean this county up, and we needed help. A lot of good volunteers that made this county come through, so it wasn't solely on their doing. So I just ask you to vote in this election. Thank you.
In the spirit of the Republican Party and the Republican forum, my question is, what will each of you do? What will you do to nominate, take us from 16th place to first place and actually lower the millage rate and set a good example for the rest of the state?
Yeah, go first. I'm just kidding. I think I just want to implement what we've already talked about. I want to really, that's the way I talk about it. I get a little nervous when I'm up here in front of you. I want to really encourage business. I want to encourage small business growth. I want to encourage large business. I want to see a unity between our states, government, our local government, our city government, where we're bringing different entities in, not only restaurants, manufacturing, and I know Shaw's already been a good addition. I think we can do more. When I was a kid here, we'd get out of school and there's certain places you didn't go at 2 o'clock or 2:30 because the streets were full of employees leaving and you had to dodge them. And now the streets are kind of back. And I want to see it back to where you had to watch where you went to make sure you didn't caught in traffic jams and ringos. There's a few of you remember when we was busy. The things were hustling, bustling. I want to see it again. We've got 3 great exits in Deuce County. And every one of them should have something going on. Brings in money to where we don't have to rely on the property paying citizens. We've got elderly people that have to sell their property, their cars, because they can't afford them. And I want to see us to get the money from people passing through or manufacturing jobs that are paying their taxes. I'll do everything I can to make that happen.
So as far as economic development, everyone knows that we brought in Costco and Cabela's and working with Port Oakport. We had Shaw, and they had an $80 million investment in the Ringgold area, exit 345 and 348. I'm getting into that. Yes, I remember the question. I'm getting into that. So those sales tax revenues allow us to give sales tax credits, which all of these sales tax commissioners understand. There is a sales tax credit that you get every year on your property taxes. Another thing is, when we had the recession, property values declined, right? We still had operational costs for the county. We actually had to furlough my first year in office because of the revenues decline. So as you see, you were talking about property values increasing. We've seen that, so we're starting to see that increase again. So there is an opportunity that we can actually reduce our millage rate even further as those property taxes are those property values increase. It's just basic math. So you can understand as property values increase, we can actually incur more revenue. And if we keep our budget the same and keep it steady, then we should be able to keep and reduce our millage rate. Everybody understand? Does that make sense? Okay.
I have a question regarding the governmental system. The Republican Party would want less government. And yet, as the candidates for tax commissioner mentioned, that their hands are pretty much tied, that they depend on somebody else. Those of us that live in the county, yet some of the decisions that are made in Ringgold City also affect us in the county that we really don't have a vote on or a say in the city. We're talking about the millage rate with the school board. We're talking about Senate and House positions. I know in a little bit we're going to be hearing from the Sheriff's Department. We also have the Police Department. So how much communication is there between all of these different departments to find out what each one is doing, or what do you propose to do as a candidate so that we can streamline the government?
One thing that we've done is we have a monthly meeting with all of the elected officials, and we sit down and we talk about what is going on in the departments, what the troubles are, and how do we streamline what we're trying to do. How do we work together? As far as the county government, public works, and those departments, we're looking to see what we can make more efficient rather than hiring more personnel or purchasing additional equipment. How can we make things more efficient? And how do we look at scheduling? So we are in an area, work in that particular area. It's just like manufacturing. It's called level loading. So we'll get in there. Actually, that's what we have done in the past, is look at scheduling, make sure we get around and make things more efficient. Also looking at doing that in our home inspections. That's one area that we really need some help as far as streamlining. We're looking at tablets, which is relatively inexpensive, and allowing our home builders to actually go online and purchase permits and schedule inspections. And that way, the home inspector has all the information on that tablet, so he doesn't have to run back and forth to the office.
Not to debate, but just to get clarification on your answer. When you say all the elected officials get together to discuss this, are you talking about the commissioners, or are you talking about all elected officials?
All elected officials. I work with all the constitutional officers. We get together on a monthly basis, generally, and sit down and talk about the departments, the needs, what is going on, and how can we work together to make things more efficient rather than buying additional equipment or hiring additional personnel. And how do we keep things as cost effective as possible?
Is that what the city employees or city elected officials do that, or is it?
You're asking me.
I'm sorry, I just want to clarify myself.
No, that's reasonable. It's primarily in the county because we have the county budget.
I'm trying to learn too. I think your question is, the cities and the counties working together to try to reduce the burden on the correct?
Right.
Well, I don't think there is a communication between the three entities, and I think that's a problem. I think we need to all work together. Fort Oglethorpe and Ringo are in Catoosa County. So ultimately, they need to come together and work together to reduce the burden on all of them. Your question is, what can we do to lower it? Is have communication, to talk to each other, to see what one department's doing, just because when the county gets together, that's a great thing. And I think Keith has done a good job there in the county. I don't want to discourage that. But I think we need to work better with the entities within the county. I mean, one hand's got to know what the other's doing. That's the problem. I think we need to have an open communication between the two cities and the county. And I would encourage that.
Property values are going up. I guess I have tunnel vision, but I'm already paying like your books, that I'm reading, right, I pay my property on the market, and it won't sell, partly because the taxes in this county. So what's going to be taxes from going through the roof? I mean, there's, I'm missing something, right, just for the public. How is raising property values supposed to benefit me?
That's a good one.
It's my turn, yeah. How'd you do that, Keith? You're good. All right, when I was hearing that video, the way Keith said it, I don't think it came out how he meant it. It's almost like, we're gonna lower your rates, you're gonna pay the same amount of money. None of us wanna hear that. We wanna figure out how we're gonna pay less money. I mean, through this whole recession, I never got a reduction in my taxes. I paid plenty of property tax. I think there's a lot of us in here that do. Well, it's temporary. I don't know how long it's gonna last. But we need to find a way to lessen the burden completely, not to lower your millage rate and raise your values and get the same amount from you. That's just wrong. That's what government does. We've got to find ways to lessen your burden. And that's what I've been talking about, is we've got to find other revenues besides your wallet, unless you want to spend it at the store. But that's the problem. We look at, every time we want to raise money, we want to raise your values, we want to raise your assessment. That's not the angle I want to take. I want to figure out another way to make money besides your property taxes. I just don't get where we can never pay them. We know that's a pipe dream. It's never going to happen. But I hate them as bad as y'all do. I probably paid more of them than most of them, and I don't like them either. So that's it.
All right. So getting back to the millage rate, yes, like I was talking about earlier, it's making our government more efficient. How can we reduce operational costs? That's what we're looking at doing. However, as you will know, that everything else is also inflationary as well. But again, we are trying to look at look at the ways of making our county government more efficient, and I believe we've done that. But he is correct. When it comes to property values, if we do not continue to reduce the millage rate, and if we keep our budget constant, yes, you would be basically paying the same millage for the same amount of taxes. So yes, we need to look at ways of making the county government more efficient, which we have done. We're adding state to generate revenues. What are the other ways that we can generate revenues to reduce the burdens on the home? Looking at our judicial system, the state court, how can we reduce the number of inmates that we have in the jail? That's one way we're doing that, because we have an incredible population at the jail right now. How can we reduce the time in which they're in jail? And that's through state court and other avenues as well. That's how we're looking to reduce costs and trying to reduce the tax burden on the law.
This is going to be our final question.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to bring up the source law, and it's going to be Hutchinson Hospital. We have paid out through the yin yang, along with Walker County, Hutchinson Hospital. Now, a lot of these things, I think, have been decided in executive session, and I know what you said about you have to bring it out and you vote on it outside. You cannot do it in an executive session. But when will these executive session things stop and bring this stuff out in the public so that we will know what's going on? We want transparency. And executive sessions. I realize that on a lot of things like personnel, things like that, personal stuff, then you have to have that in executive session. However, when it comes to spending my money, I want to know where it's being spent and what it's being spent for and how much we're going to spend. A lot of times people get up, come into our commission meetings, they're there solely to ask for money. Nobody checks into the background as to why they want it or if they even need it. So I think that this needs to be, so what are y'all going to do about this next go round? We'll find our taxes raised again like we did 2 years in a row. So thank you.
everybody understands that having a community hospital is important for the community. Not only for the community, but also for economic development. At that time, the hospital was probably about $40 to $50 million in debt. What we're trying to do is, then plus 800 jobs. What can we do to help support the hospital? And then, of course, we looked at, we partnered with Erlanger back in 2011, 2010, 2011. And all three counties got together and made that decision as far as, who is the right partner for Hutchinson. And that was, at the time, Erlanger. They guaranteed, or each of the counties, Catoosa and Walker, guaranteed $10 million each. Now, part of the stipulations for that guarantee was the hospital would have to be sold at a value before they would come after the county or the taxpayers. That was part of the agreement. So the hospital at the time was worth more than the $20 million. And now it is not, because it was run into the ground. That's unfortunate. Operational losses now at Hutchinson Hospital are $80 million. $80 million. I believe we all need a community-based hospital for, it may not be a full-scale hospital, but we need some medical care in our community. That's the reason the Board of Commissioners did what they did early on, is because we needed the community support. But never really got to answer your question.
I'll be honest, I don't fault commissioners for trying to save Hutchinson Hospital, because we need a community hospital. The thing that I would like to see different is you don't give somebody a $10 million check, you don't go with it. I think we should have had somebody on the board of commissioners, one of the five, be on the board of the hospital. You give $10 million, you ought to be able to make a little bit of bull as you go. To me, it's just going back to what I started with earlier. It's accountability for one. You write a check out of y'all's pockets for $10 million, somebody needs to go with it, somebody needs to be liable for it. I think we do need a community hospital. I hope Apollo takes over, and I hope they do a good job. I've heard rumors that there's a chance we might build a hospital with Erlanger again. And to me, I hope that never happens, because Erlanger's the one that drove us in the hole to start with. So getting back into bed with Erlanger, to me, seems like a really bad thing. Well, it feels like Erlanger took us the rest of the way down. Because we went from $50 million to $80 million in debt after that's what we run. So regardless of that, I'd like to see Mr. Apollo take over. I think we need to lick our wounds and pay her $8.4 million. What is it now? I'm not positive. It was $10 million, and then if they got the sale, it was going to be the deduction of the 10. The sale was 1 point, or forgive me for not knowing the numbers. That's what I think. I don't remember what your question was to start with. At least you don't pay school tax no more.